Karp is the greatest operator when it comes to getting people to do what he needs them to do and like giving a mission statement. So, you need someone who's like more mechanical and someone who's like, I'll give you an example. Anthony Noto is perfect at that. With SoFi,
I
if you
love
listen
him,
to the
bro.
earning,
Yeah.
You know,
if
he
you listen
follows
to,
me on Twitter.
does he?
He follows me
I
too. It's
DM'd
not
with him
that
a few times.
special.
Yeah, I DM.
He follows
Did you DM with
15,000
him?
people.
Wait, did you
No,
DM
he
with him?
follows 50. He follows 15,000 people. It
I
doesn't
spoke
matter
to him
that
on
much.
DMs. Did you speak to him on DMs?
What did you DM Anthony Noto about?
We talked about football. He used to play linebacker for Army.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah, he was at West Point. He was at West Point.
Yeah. So we talk about football. Super interesting guy.
Yeah. No, it's just some people are so much better at comms than what Alex Karp is. But did you guys notice this theme? Everyone is dunking on Zuck right now. Every single
Yeah.
CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, if this isn't confirmation that the metaverse has got some real big challenges ahead of itself, like
I think the
yeah.
reason they're dunking is because everyone knows the economy is about to fall off a cliff, and you got Zucks focused on headsets, and like that's why I think every CEO is like going for their shot, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's more because they're like, don't hate Palantir, go hate Facebook, go hate Meta, So
That's
it's
another
just
argument. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
To be honest, it's not only Facebook who's going for this metaverse thing. Like it's a whole industry around it.
No, but
Especially in
Facebook's the company that
the
became
blockchain.
Meta, right?
The blockchain people like went hard at this metaverse thing, bro. They made a lot of money off it.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, I don't know how you guys felt, but did you guys see they had 73 additional clients with 1 million plus in revenue, right? What I'm seeing is that they're shifting down market. So they're going after smaller clients where before they were more heavily focused on the super majors and the conglomerates. Now it's like, let's get the smaller people more involved. I thought that was interesting. And also the model for the FDE model, which after speaking to Coach Trab, I think it's more reasonable to expect that to be something going forward that's going to be very positive for them. The reason why is because you got your guys on the inside of these businesses, whereas communication has always been like when I work in implementation, one of the biggest challenges is drawing problems out of a company. What does that mean? So right now, if you go to a company and say, hey, I can provide you business value, that's only half the battle. Majority of the battle is trying to get the customer to be honest and truthful with you in saying that we have a problem. Most of the time, they'll just be like, yeah, we have a problem with sales. But they know why they have problems with sales. They'll never admit it right off the bat. So you have to have a person constantly there saying, oh, what can I do to help you increase sales? Oh, what are your challenges with sales? Oh, I see last year you had this incident. Was there a solution that we could have provided that prevented you from having that? And so by having that forward deployed engineer on site, it gives them particularly like a really insightful views on how things need to change. And hopefully they can take that. And then when they go to their next client, the next clients, most companies all have the same problems, but they all work in silos. So it never gets solved on the industrial level. So my thing is, if you can find one problem at the bank and the reason why, like, let's say that they're not that profitable, that problem is probably in 5 other banks. So the next time you go to another bank, you can say, hey, listen, I'm sure that you guys are having a problem with X. Guess what? We can help you solve that problem because we've already dealt with it at Y. So that's probably a positive indicator. So from a business model standpoint, it may end up being something that in the long term wins out over the customized solutions that like right now, I look at Snowflake, I look at Alteryx, I look at Data Robot. All of them are trying to sell what Palantir is doing, but they're doing it by selling things like piecemeal, whereas Palantir is trying to sell the whole product.
I
think
like
it's a natural progression.
But
I mean, you remember when we talked about this a year ago on the podcast? I don't remember which one of the iterations, and we said, "Oh, this is the progression, right? B to Fortune 500 B, V
Yeah.
to big B, V to medium sized B, V to small B, and hopefully at some point B to C. Like hopefully, like if it happens, we don't know when. But like that's like the same thing. Tesla did the same thing, right? Premium product, everyman product. So the fact that they're doing it, it's actually very encouraging.
Did you like Karp and Sean being on video? That was new. They
Yeah,
didn't do
was
that
cool.
last time.
It proves that they're not reading off of paper, at least Sham.
Sean was good. I liked him.
He was
When he
good.
said
He
this
was good.
effing matters, I liked it. It was really good. You saw
was
Carp too.
natural.
I think Carp was nodding his head when he said, "Does it effing matter?" I think Carp was like, "Good boy. Next time, say the actual word."
We
Carp
are
liked
at
it.
1.2 thousand viewers, Ahmed.
Yeah, I didn't
They're
expect
here
that,
to
man.
see you, me, and Chris, which is pretty cool. Thank you all
They're
for
here for
joining us
me,
today.
but that's okay.
Guys, I think they're setting up for an acquisition. What do you think?
I think it's
Acquisition of who?
impossible. It's impossible. Them getting acquired?
No, no,
No,
no, no.
who
They're
they haven't
setting
acquired.
up to buy somebody because
Oh, okay.
they've mentioned it about 3 times. Number one, that they have a healthy balance sheet, and two, that they have a revolver, right? Almost a $900 million revolver. One of the things that I'm surprised that Palantir hasn't done this, they don't have a VC arm. Why? Like almost every other major software company has a
The
VC
SPACs
arm
were
that's
basically that to an extent,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. He's right.
yeah,
They did
but
it directly with the specs. He's right.
I would rather see like more on the VC side where literally, because I mean, dude, you got Peter Thiel, who's like one of the biggest venture capitalists on the planet. Shit, if anything, get Palantir's balance sheet to run some of those same things where you're co-investing with Peter Thiel's and Joe Lonsdale's and everyone else's VCs. Because right now, the market for venture capital is all dried up, which means that there are probably a lot of innovative companies looking to take on partners at very generous terms, as opposed to a year ago or 2 years ago, where they would have given you barely any equity to be invested in them. So
Yeah.
if you're sitting on this much cash, I would say that it's probably a good idea to not a lot, just like 25 million here, 100, like another 5-10 million here on the next generation technologies.
It's either they're sitting on too much cash as kind of a like a stash towards like a horrible year, or you're right, they might be prepping for some sort of acquisition.
Yeah, man. What
Okay.
did you think of the quarter?
I haven't gone through all the numbers yet, but from what I'm liking, look, everything seems good. There's nothing bad. I don't think the market's gonna kill it. I mean, it's gonna probably stay flat at 7. But like the growth is definitely not at 30% year over year. And I think we just have to consider 2022 as one of those years where macro was so bad and they still hired people, they still did all the stuff that it's okay if they don't hit 30 this year. And let's just hope they hit 35 next year or 40 next year.
Well, the macroeconomic conditions tough right now. I told you, like, this is still a discretionary product. Most businesses don't need Palantir in order to be successful. So that means that Palantir is going to have a tough time getting new clients, new customers. Where I think we definitely need to be observant is their spending, right? Which seems that they've really cut back on spending on a lot of non-essential things. Like even if you looked at, I guess there was a pushback from employees in the UK with like some of the ways that they were trying to organize their pensions and stuff. It just goes to show that they're actually trying to maintain their profitability and cash flows. They're not just willy-nilly, hey, let's just throw money at a company called Energy Vault that's basically a battery that it's like they're becoming a lot more cost conscious, which is a good thing because at the end of the day, that's what builds shareholder value, right? The other thing is the nonstop, relentless selling of shares by insiders. That's probably not a good thing either. And the last but not least, I think from a valuation standpoint, you can't really go much lower than what they are right now based on
Yeah.
just their normal growth, their cash flow, their balance sheet. Like they're pretty fairly valued. I'm not going to say that they're overvalued or undervalued. I think they're fair. So what does that mean? That means that right now is a good time to just DCA for like an extended period of time. Like you have to give companies like this time in order to grow into their positive growth at this point. Though I do think I'm going to be very observant on what Snowflake does. The reason why Snowflake is such a big integral part of trying to get digital transformations out there, that they actually provide a lot of the underlying infrastructure. So if Snowflake grows, that also means the Palantir is probably going to grow too, because that means the companies are not cutting back on spending to digitally transform. It just means that they're shifting spend somewhere else. I think eventually Snowflake's goal of getting to about 10 billion in revenue, that's going to happen.
When do they want to get that? They have a year target?
Fiscal year 2029 for them, they're a year behind on their fiscal year, so probably 2028. is when they're trying to get to 10 billion in revenue. So, but I think that's, believe it or not, I think that's an understatement. I think that they go probably 15, maybe even 20, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this. So people ask about stock-based comp. Yes. So stock-based comp was 184 last year, September 30th, 2021, ending 9 months. Now it's 140. So down about 20%. Not bad. It's what we expected. Hopefully next year, at 120 and then closer to 80 by the end of the next year. So stock-based comp is going down. They are hiring. Do you think like Palantir is hiring because they want the mood and the aura around the company to feel better than what's going on in the Valley right now?
No, no, I think they actually need people because the model that they have is around as they get more clients and customers, they're not your traditional SaaS players where they just send you the software and boom, you have to do everything yourself. They actually have to send a forward deployed engineer. Then you have support staff that, work with that forward deployed engineer to get things done. And sometimes the clients are so big that they have to have a team go there, not just one person, right? So an example is if you're working with someone like BP, you're not going to send one forward deployed engineer. You're going to send a team. You're going to send usually a project manager plus maybe like 2 or 3 coders and then another person who does the ML and DevOps part of it. So I think in that regard, the hiring is a positive sign because that's just showing you that means that their business is growing, right? And they're going to be able to grow faster. The headcount growth is not necessarily good in terms of profitability, but that's just the cost of doing business. I think if they were cutting back on personnel, that would be a bad sign because that means that they don't have enough business. Now, with them hiring, it means that they're actually they have some business going on. They're not, and I don't think they're the type of company that's just going to willy nilly hire people either. Like if you look at some of the reviews on Google, on Google, Indeed, and all of that, they'll tell you one of the things about Palantir is it's not easy to get into Palantir as an employee. People think that oh, they just hire anybody. No, dude, you have to pass so many like tests to get in. Sometimes there's people who have like 3 and 4 interviews before you get the job. So the quality of engineers that they have are super up there, you know.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a high threshold to get there. But that makes sense. The fact that they are hiring people means they have business to support hiring all those people, which signals a difference from they were also never bloated like Twitter or anything, right? They never had that many people for no reason.
Yeah.
Especially given how competitive it was to get in. So overall, you felt earnings were good. I mean, it's a okay quarter. It's not a horrible quarter. It's not a phenomenal quarter. It's a good quarter.
I would say probably neutral. They're just right there. I think some people were expecting, and this is like, if you remember our Palantir weekly conversation, right? I was like, don't expect crazy things. Like right now, we're not in a place where if you guide down, you're going to get beat up. If you guide up, you're going to get beat up. If you guide at the middle, you're still going to get beat up. So the point is right now, you need to take all the shit from the future, bring it forward so that in the future you have a lot more growth to look forward to, right? So I think in that regard, Palantir is going to, not highlight some of the things that are coming in the future in this earnings. They're going to probably save that for when the economy starts to get a little bit better, because then this way they can push a lot of that news forward. I think most importantly, from my perspective, I would say this is the perfect time to dollar cost average into Palantir, because from a valuation standpoint, like I said, when we started talking, if you take the entire commercial side of the business, just stripped it out and just left the government business, you would still get a $15 billion valuation because they got so much revenue coming in from the government. The government segment is still growing, right? The commercial is just like the cherry on top at this point. So at this point, we're investing with a pretty high margin of safety in Palantir. Like, even though I don't want to bring up the everything money guys, but even the everything money guys are like, hey, I think Palantir is actually pretty fairly valued right now based on their stupid calculator, which I'm not a big fan of their calculator. Then the reason why is because it never takes into account like macro events, political events. So you shouldn't value companies just based on just numbers. And they have like over reliance on trying to do projections just based on numbers without really taking into consideration of, like the other things that are going around. That's why they lost on Baba, right? They're always just looked at the numbers saying Baba's undervalued, Baba's undervalued. Well, guess what? Read some headlines on Baba. The freaking Xi Jinping hates what's the name? Jack Ma. You really think he's going to see the business succeed? So those are the kinds of things. But even Everything Money has shifted their tune on Palantir's valuation. So I think right now this is an opportunity to dollar cost average while there's an extended period of time where you have this flatness in the stock price. Think of it like Tesla, right? When you're investing if people are investing in Tesla, the people that made the most money are the people who invested, let's say $100, $200, $300 a week for 5 years, because their average was so freaking low. So when that exponential growth curve came, boom, they made a ton of money. So right now I think it's a good time. And here's the other thing. Someone said I'll start DCAing when it goes to 6.5. I can't tell you what to do, but if you feel that strongly about 6 and 6.5, keep selling puts. Sell a $6 put every week. Sell a $6 put, or every 3 weeks, sell a $6 put till you get the highest amount of theta decay. So, me right now, the way I'm doing it is on Mondays, I just pick up about $100, $200 worth of Palantir shares. And my wife picks up some because now she's all on the Palantir train too.
She has to be, bro. She gives you up every Friday just for Palantir.
I'm telling her to get some Snowflake, bro. Snowflake, that's where the money's at. I'm investing in both. I think both companies are going to do phenomenally well. I think the entire industry is going to do well. And the fact that a lot of these companies have gotten so beat down over the last year, there's a lot of opportunities out there if you're willing to do some homework and look. I would say people should do research outside by going to YouTube and just typing in Snowflake and seeing all the use cases, because there's so many videos coming out with use cases, customers talking about it, and Palantir realizes that too, and now they're actually putting that stuff out there as well, which I think is awesome, and hopefully that helps them grow their business. And believe it or not, there's actually clients right now that I know of that have both Snowflake and Palantir. It's not if you with Palantir you're against Snowflake, or if you're with Snowflake you're against Palantir. Like people can get both products, believe it or not.
Yeah. All right, we got to be out. This was awesome. Thank you all 1,000 people for joining us. Definitely check out Chris. I'm gonna put Chris's channel real quickly into the description.
Yo, can you please change the name from Daily Cowbell? That shit's
man,
stupid.
it's gotta be. That's the point. That's the point.
You couldn't think of a better name than the Daily Cowbell.
Yeah, we thought of it in like 2 seconds. We were like, all right, we're not gonna think too much. Let's go. All right. Chris's channel is in the chat. Definitely check him out. We've got a lot of coverage. Palantir Weekly Friday. We'll be discussing a lot more of it, and a lot of stuff to dissect. But overall, not a bad quarter. Not a horrible quarter. Definitely not a phenomenal quarter. It was pretty neutral, and I don't think the market destroyed it that badly. I don't think the market's going to. We'll see what happens at 9:30. Yep. But it seems like we'll be okay. Seems like we should be all right. So,
all right, bro.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
Take care.
Bye-bye.